Hello, I'm Annie Mackinder, and today I've come to visit a working beef and arable farm in Lincolnshire. Bovine tuberculosis is a highly infectious disease of cattle that DEFRA have recently stated is the biggest challenge facing the cattle industry today. So, Martin, thank you for joining me today. Firstly, could you please tell me a little bit about how TB in cattle has affected you?
Well, at the moment in Lincolnshire, in my parish, we're still a 4-year testing parish, so we haven't actually got TB in our area. But the most worrying thing is the rapid movement of TB across the country, and it's already spread up from Gloucestershire and the southwest into Derbyshire, where most of the parishes there now are 1 or 2 year testing parishes. This means that every year the whole herd has to have a complete TB test. This causes an awful lot of work for the farmers, and if any cattle have TB, then the herd becomes under restrictions, movement restrictions, and also in those parishes, if they want to move cattle, they have to have pre-movement tests of cattle within a certain number of days before they sell them.
What would happen if you had a test for TB on your farm and one of your cattle did react to the test? What happens from there?
Well, if we have to test all our breeding stock at the moment every 4 years, if you have what's called an inconclusive reactor in your test, or a number of reactors, then just those animals are retested at the moment. And if they come back negative, which often they do, then you have all clear and you have no problem. If, however, you have a conclusive reactor, you then have a complete shutdown of your herd, which means that you can't buy animals into the herd or sell animals out of the herd.
Right, so obviously if you do get found with TB on your farm, it's a complete shutdown. Who compensates for that? Is it the farmer who has to pay, or do the government compensate you?
The government compensate for any animals which are taken away to be slaughtered. Farmers are not compensated for all the additional work he has in the labour, in testing the animals, the stress of moving the animals, and I think the heartache it puts onto the farm and his family as well.
Do you know farmers who've got TB on their farm, or how many cattle we're talking about on a yearly basis in the UK that have got TB at the moment?
I understand that last year the 34,000 cattle were slaughtered because they were TB reactors, and this equates to 1 week's kill of the cattle in the country, which is you could say a 50th or 2% of our cattle were taken away for TB, and these numbers are increasing, and there is no plan in the future to do anything about it except more stringent pre-movement testing.
And the idea that they're going to kill the badgers that they think carry the TB, but it's also likely, with it being a bacterial infection, that is carried by other wild animals like deer, and even rabbits and stuff can carry the virus onto farms. So what do you think about the idea of killing the badgers? Well,
Annie, I think the best thing I can do is take you around the farm, and I'll show you different fields which we've got badger sets in. If we walk across this field here, I keep maybe 300 or 400 cattle in this yard, different times of the year, and they graze in the fields around the yard. They have access into the yard all the time for water and additional food. They also come into direct contact with badgers, and we'll walk across. I'll show you this badger set, which is very, very active, very big, and those badgers are completely protected. Fortunately, I think on my farm the badgers haven't got TB, but I am completely in the dark as to what science and experiment is going on. I would have thought that the experiments would be in the nature of having infected badgers and clean cattle in contact with each other, infected cattle and clean badgers in contact with each other, and seeing just what results they gave to see how it is actually transmitted.
I think obviously if you read the news today, there's a lot of articles in the news about the TB crisis, but they seem to be covering more controversy around it, with the people who are obviously anti it because of the badgers being killed. There is very little information about what facts they've got to base this kill on, and whether the kill will actually work. I mean, it has actually been postponed now for a year. In your opinion, do you think if we are to go and kill the badgers, do you think it's a realistic option? Do you feel going and shooting the badgers is firstly possible, and secondly, do you think that is going to be the answer for TB?
Well, my vet said to me when I talked to him about badgers, he said, well, you better leave your badgers alone if your badgers haven't got TB, because if you destroy the badgers sets which haven't got TB, badgers will come in from other areas, and if you introduce badgers into your area which have TB because the area hasn't got badgers in it and they need a new territory, then you're doing more harm than good. But obviously, if you have a farm which has got badger sets and the badgers have been trapped and seen to have TB, then I would have thought it made jolly good sense to do something about it.
Great, well thank you ever so much for giving your time to talk to us today, and that's all very interesting stuff. Thank you.